Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of E-Heroes. For those keeping count, this is episode 175. And today we're going to talk about content marketing that sells. And I brought on expert marketer Nabil Aziz. Hey, thanks for being here. And this is going to be fun.
Hey Rob, thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
And for those that are only listening to this on audio, Nabil's got these awesome red glasses that make him look so cool.
Yeah, they're for the evenings. I mean, we're in front of the computer all day, every day. So I started wearing these to block out some of the blue light when it gets later on in the evening, and I find it helps ease the stress on the eyes a little bit.
Off air we were talking about Joe Sugarman, and Joe Sugarman created this company called Blue Blocker sunglasses, and this is in the late 70s, early 80s, and Joe must have sold millions of these glasses, and became a household name in the marketing field. And Joe is probably one of the best online marketers. Well, even before online, television and newspaper and magazines, and he kind of perfected that, the written word. And so it's always exciting to bring on people who know Joe, and kind of use that marketing in their everyday use.
Yeah, what I have found, Rob, is that more and more, and we were talking about this before we started recording, is all these third-party platforms, right? You got
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and more people are staying on those platforms and not moving to our websites, right?
Right.
So you have to become proficient, even though you're a direct response copywriter, you have to become proficient in other forms of media.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't know if there's a particular term for it, but I coined the term direct response branding, and I actually bought the domain for it.
Wow.
So what I think is that you need to apply those very same principles to a multitude of different formats, and the principles stay the same. It's just the delivery mechanism changes over time as technology changes.
Yeah. And years ago, I would always tell my clients, look, you got to put your content on your own platforms. You control your podcast, you control your podcast in a way if you put your podcast on your own website. And putting those blogs on your website is great, but the majority of people nowadays stay on Facebook or social, or a social platform of some sort, and then they forget to share all the stuff, all the brilliant stuff they have on their website over, and they forget that they don't own Facebook. They don't. So Facebook can say, well, I don't like what you're posting, we're going to shut you down. And then they're like, well, I have zero traffic to my website. Well, yeah, you should have been promoting that for the last couple of years, but you forgot about it. And now they're starting all over because of the pandemic. They're coming to me and coming to other marketers and saying, help us get our website working again. And it's like, this is something that you should have done consistently the last few years. And I don't know, to me, it's one of the biggest frustrating things that I see in marketers, or in entrepreneurs. They have good intent, but consistency they lack. And so they'll try something for a couple days, maybe a week, a month, and they'll say, oh, it doesn't work. And then they stop. And all those blog articles, they reside on Google. I mean, Google's indexing them all the time. And if you write them in a conversational tone where it's, enjoyable for someone to read, it's going to be picked up and searched, and you're going to be able to find that. But I've been finding a lot of people are still writing blog articles and stuffing keywords in them like it was still 1990. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's like the techniques, they sort of, like, especially, okay, when you have business owners, like they sort of come onto the strategies a few years late, right?
Mhm.
So now they're on the SEO that was working like a few years ago, when SEO has changed now. And in fact,
Right.
SEO now is a lot more like direct response copywriting than it was, many years ago,
Right.
where at this point you have the algorithm, or Google is smart enough to understand what you're writing. So you have the flexibility to not be keyword stuffing. You can just write like a normal person,
Mhm. One of the keys that I always tell people, look, SEO is great. I love it. I mean, I love teaching it. But Google and the search engines look at the meta title and the meta description. And when you have the same keywords in both those areas, all you're doing is doubling up. You don't need that. You got all this keyword real estate, and Google's going to look at both of them and go, okay, you're a carpet cleaner. Why are you putting carpet cleaning on both those things? So let's eliminate that. You can mention carpet cleaning once, but in the description, say what you're actually providing, and kind of go deeper into the key phrase. What's going to happen then, instead of ranking for 3 or 5 keywords, you're going to rank for 30 or 40 keywords, because every single page on your website is now keyworded and key phrased a little differently. And now your website is ranking a lot better than, the guy that just keyword stuffed carpet cleaning in, every single page. But that's the web designers don't understand SEO, and sometimes the SEO people don't understand web design. So it's crazy.
And I think, like you said, also it's a long-term play, right? So when they're doing the paid ads on Facebook, or search ads, or when they're doing social media, it's that immediate dopamine effect, right? That you don't get with a long-term play, like investing in building up your website as a first-party asset, that continues to generate traffic for you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, besides that, a lot of these people, what I've found is that not only are they weak on SEO, they're also weak on building their email list and emailing their list often. And that
Right.
is I guess your number one asset that you can have online is an email list. Because even Google, like, even if your SEO game is strong, even Google can change their algorithm one day, and it might tank your rankings
Right.
from one day to the next.
Yeah. And let's talk about email marketing, because what I've discovered is that, when I email somebody, once a week, I might get responses. If I email them more than once a week, the drop off rate, the people that want to get out of my email, I think it doesn't. I mean, how do I want to say this? The more I email somebody, the less they want to vacate. They stick with me. But it's that infrequency that when you email somebody, they're like, well, who is this? Well, wait, no, I don't want that. Unclick, unclick, unclick. But yet, you email them more frequently than once a week, once a month, they're going to stick around longer.
Yeah, so what usually happens in that situation is somebody will opt in to your website for like a freebie or something, and then you have no follow-up emails set up. Maybe you just give them the freebie on the thank you page, and there's no more emails after that, until you email them like a month later or a month and a half later with whatever you're promoting, and they've forgotten why they subscribed to your list, and they're like, who is this person? I don't remember subscribing to them. Subscribe to them, unsubscribe, or they'll report you to spam.
Yeah.
So the key is exactly like you said, regular emails to stay on top of mind. Once a week is okay. Ideally speaking, like you can do daily emails. I found that too many people are doing daily emails now, so it's pretty much become played out. What I found optimal is 3 emails a week.
Yeah.
3 emails a week with a resend on the off days, so that people who didn't read the email the first time you send it will get a chance to read it on the resend. Okay. One that is easier for the reader in the sense that they're much more able to actually consume the emails that you're sending to them.
Right.
Okay. Two, it's much more easier for you as the email writer to stay fresh, because after a while it's very easy to go stale.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a chore to write these daily emails, and then you start phoning it in, which defeats the purpose of writing a daily email in the first place.
Right.
If you read the daily emails of a lot of these internet marketers that do send daily emails, it's very, very rare that you find someone sending a good email. An email, I wouldn't say, like, when I say good, I don't mean like an amazing email. I mean like an email that you would actually be interested in reading.
Right.
A lot of the time it's just them rambling, or they're better off writing that in their diary as opposed to sending it out to their list. So the sweet spot I found is 3 emails a week with a resend on the off days.
Yeah, that's how I used to be, and I would send out an email once or twice a month, and then I upped my game, and it was twice a month, and then twice a week, and then every day. And then I I went back down to 3 days a week, and now I have it set up so it's one message on a Monday, and then another thing, another message maybe on a Thursday. And I've been trying to experiment to see what my audience likes, when they respond best, how do they respond, what, kind of captions, get their attention best. And sometimes it's a game, and your audience changes. I've noticed that like every 6 months or so, my audience response, is different. And I think that these are some of the things that entrepreneurs forget about, or maybe they don't think about. And I look at my audience all the time. How has it changed? Why has it changed? Is there some outside force that's affecting them? COVID really completely screwed up everybody's thinking. So then, my emails had to come off a little differently than they were before. And, granted that there's a saying that, if it continues to work, keep doing it. The problem is that you keep doing it and you're not looking at the outside forces and so you don't fix anything. You don't try to improve it. And I think that's what's, that's why I kind of love marketing, because, you got the scientific approach, you got the emotional approach, and you're mixing them both together to try to get people to say, hey, yeah, I want to give you my money.
And it can be quite easy just to look at the people you're marketing to as just numbers or email addresses on a screen. But I think that if you can remember that there's a human being on the other side of that inbox, it makes it much easier for you to stay relevant and keep your audience engaged, and then, change with the times as the times change.
Right. Now, let's talk about changing times, because I saw this post on your Facebook, and you responded to this Alex Berman. And a lot of entrepreneurs will invoice after the fact. It's kind of that ingrained thing that, hey, this is what has always been done. We're going to do the work, we're going to send an invoice and hope in 30, 60, 90 days we're going to get paid. And Alex says, don't pay the invoice until the work is done. And you come back with, I get paid 100% in advance. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's just not a lot of businesses out there that say that. I mean, I've been doing it for years, you've been doing it for years, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are afraid to do it that way.
And my thinking is, why didn't we get into business in the first place? just to do what everybody else is doing, or are we actually trying to be our own bosses?
Right.
So the thing about, okay, I'm a service provider, you're a service provider. So technically, we still have, quote unquote bosses, because the bosses are our clients. However, we set the terms of that engagement.
That's right.
If somebody doesn't work with us the way we want to work, then we just don't work with them. Yeah. There's a world of 7 billion people out there. You can go find one who you like to work with. You don't have to work with me. So that's why I have had this uh, I thought it's pretty normal, but it seems like it's quite strange for a lot of service providers. And I live in Dubai. That's where I'm based, and over here, the norm is like you said, 30 days net, 60 days net, sometimes 90 days net. Okay, for vendors. All right. And one of my friends owns a marketing agency, and I used to watch them, you know, go through all of this hassle trying to get paid.
Mhm.
And I told myself, that's never going to happen to me. And it goes so far as to me wanting to do that I will probably not work with local clients, because
Mhm.
I know they're very set in their ways. What And then on top of that, they don't have the budgets that
Right.
an international client will have. And then two, they they have this issue with the payment terms.
Mhm.
And if you want to get paid in advance, it's like this big thing. And every company has sort of like an accounts receivable, like the old school way of doing things. And they're accountants, they're not the end user, so they have their processes that they want to do, the bookkeeping kind of thing. So I mean, yeah, that's why I got into business, is to be my own boss, set my own
Right.
terms, work in the way that makes me happy and allows me to do good work.
Yeah, I mean,
So
we live in this society where we got PayPal, we got Visa, MasterCard. We don't need to be the bank. I mean, I don't know you, you know, I shouldn't have to be the banker. I shouldn't have to extend credit. And this is what we do. I mean, entrepreneurs do this every single day. And I remember, as a vendor, when I had my cleaning business, a long time ago, I would go into these places and they say, "Hey, would you like to open up an account? And you can get your product now and we'll bill you later." I thought, "Oh, okay, great." So you have to fill out all those forms. And well, as entrepreneurs, we take on clients. We never ask them for their credentials. We don't know their history, and yet we're extending credit to them. Why? Get paid up front, eliminate all that hassle. And here's the thing about when you extend credit to somebody, if they don't pay you, guess who suffers? Not them, you. And so now you have 50 clients that aren't paying you on time, and you're losing your hair pulling it out because you're worried about collection. Well, if you got paid on time, you'd eliminate all the collection stuff, and now you can pay all your people. They're happy, and you've eliminated, 90% of the problems that people that extend credit have. And to me, that was just, I don't want that kind of business.
and the funny thing is, the post that you mentioned where I was responding to Alex Berman owns his own agency. So he actually has client work himself. So I was very surprised when I saw him tweet that, because I'm sure he has his own issues, and I'm sure that he would prefer to get paid in advance as well. And I'm fairly sure that that's the way he would want to get paid, and he probably does get paid. To the extent that when I buy services from a vendor, I try my best. I think I'm pretty much 100% on this, where I try to make sure that I pay my vendors in advance,
Right.
because it's the way you want clients to be with you. That's the sort of client that you have to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have associates all over the world that, I mean, in Canada and London and Australia, and that, if I don't get paid, I can't pay them. So it just simplifies the whole process and keeps the ball rolling. And it just, to me, that's the only way to run a business. Now, let's talk about, you have a workshop called Dirty Content Marketing. What's that all about?
Yeah, so the Dirty Content Marketing Workshop or Playbook is basically a system that I've developed, being a copywriter that does also content marketing for my clients. So what we found was, I have this one client, his name is Mike Mark. He's the CEO of coachingsales.com, right? What we found was that when he was up to date and posting regularly with his organic content, that his paid ads performed a lot better. ROAS was up, all the metrics were down, CPLs were down, cost of acquisition was down, that kind of thing. And when he stopped posting, then all of his ads got more expensive.
Yeah.
So, and this happened twice to him. So third time's a charm. He said, okay, I don't have the time to do this. I got to delegate to somebody. Okay. So it so happened that he and I started talking, and I started helping him publish his content on all platforms, not just Facebook, but Instagram, LinkedIn, and his email list as well. And then within 30 days, we were able to have his first doubling of the business. So they went from about 30K a month to 60K a month. And on top of that, I believe the ROAS tripled. So he was still doing pretty good on his ROAS. They were doing like 4 to 5, and then it went from 4 to 5 to 12 to 15 x ROAS. Okay, obviously we don't do the same ROAS right now, but we were able to maintain that, and we went from 30K a month when we started working together to now 300K a month, and we still work together. And I'm actually the fractional CMO for his company right now. And so in doing that, I had to be able to systematize the way that we, one, ideate, come up with the ideas for the content, create the content, and then publish the content in a workflow that was easy to manage. So that is what the Dirty Content Marketing Workshop is about. And it's mostly about repurposing. How can you take one idea, all right, and turn it into 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40 posts that will get published across all of your platforms. And that's what it's about. It's about 3 hours long, 10 modules. I had it nicely edited. I delivered it as a live workshop at first, and then the way I structured it, I was able to cut it up into 10 modules, and I've uploaded it onto a course platform. And right now I'm working on the book version of it, the ebook version. In fact, I got the first 2 chapters back, and I'm going to use those first 2 chapters as like a tripwire to get people to try out the material, and then to upsell them into the full course.
Nice. Yeah. And for all those that are listening, I want you to pay attention, because the fact is that we as marketers, we recycle or repurpose a lot of stuff. And what works in some industries, you'd think that well, maybe that's carpet cleaning, maybe that's for book publishing, maybe it'll still work for you. And that's the joy, that's the beauty. And I think they look at things and they think, oh, that's not going to work, or they overcomplicate the idea. And for me, it was not always about taking cobbled together funnels. It was always about simplicity of the marketing, and trying to just make it easy for my viewer, my audience, whoever was reading my books, to be able to find me. And marketing doesn't have to be hard.
You mentioned carpet cleaning, Rob, and it just came to my mind. There's a YouTube channel I came across last year, or was it the year before? But he's a carpet cleaner, and all he does is publish videos of him cleaning carpet, and his videos get hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah.
And it's a small channel. This channel has maybe about 50,000, 100,000 subscribers. But he has some videos with 500,000. I think there was even one with like 1 million views. And it's just him cleaning carpet with the power washing and that kind of thing, scrubbing, shampooing, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, and that just shows the power of videos. So everything that you do, I mean, even these eHero podcasts, we do them on video. We split the content. The audio goes to the podcast channels. We can put this video on YouTube. We can put it on our website. We can transcribe it. As transcription can become blog articles. You can turn, 1 hour of video content into probably 10, 12 blog articles, or if not more. And then you can create massive amounts of social media content. So, if you don't have a lot of time, get behind a video for a little bit, talk about your stories, share your experiences, and that becomes your content for the next year.
That is actually the ideal workflow, is starting off with the video and then doing the repurpose exactly like you said.
Yeah.
Start off with the video, strip the audio, get the transcript, turn the transcript into social media post, cut up the long form video into social media clips. You can even clip the audio into audiograms, and then that's a whole bunch of social media, emails, and blogs right there, just from one piece of content that you do. And you can even batch it, record like 4, 5, maybe even 10 pieces of content a day, in one day a week, and that'll serve you for 2 months, a month, maybe sometimes 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, and if you don't blog a lot, I mean, I put out a lot of blogs, so and the thing is that as a marketer, I'm always focused on my marketing first. I used to, stress over getting all my clients' marketing done before I would do my own. The problem is that if you don't have your own marketing done first, none of the other stuff matters. Because if that well dries up and you haven't marketed yourself for years, it makes it a lot harder to go out there and attract more clients. So, you got to keep your own marketing going constantly.
And I think that is good that you mentioned that, because that is the easiest. I think most marketers fall into that trap of not doing their own marketing because they're so busy with client work. I think it's good that you mentioned that.
Well, you had mentioned Dubai, and I'm in Pennsylvania, and there's cultural differences. How do you get over some of that if you're operating halfway across the world and your client is in the United States? Is there certain things that you have to do differently?
Not necessarily. For one, I'm a native English speaker, and then we were raised with a lot of Western media, so we're familiar with the culture is one. And then two, before I was living in Dubai, I lived in Chicago for about 6 years.
Oh,
And
so
I know
sorry.
that's not a very long time. Yeah,
I can't.
the mayor
I
is amazing,
can't.
right?
I can't stand Chicago. I was trapped in Chicago airport for 27 hours, and I'm like, that's enough for me. Never again.
Yeah. And so I lived there for 6 years, and even though that's not a long time, it's sort of enough to acclimatize to some of the cultural elements. And then I have this theory that I call the Nabil's theory of online writing, and it's more of a joke, really. I say that there are only two voices when you're writing for somebody online. There's a white person with a hint of country, and there's a slightly ghetto black person. Those are the only two voices online when you're writing online. So you can stick to one, or you can mix and match. All right, a little bit of ebonics here, and ain't there, and then you're pretty much good to go, because it all reads the same.
You just simplified social media. That's it. We're done. Social media is over. It's all been debunked. Now that's funny. And what's funny is your love of Highlander. I had to bring it up. It's I was watching one of your videos, and you were complimenting on a guest that I had on eHeroes way back when. I mean, Pauline. She's episode I think 16. So Pauline's another brilliant marketer. She's from Australia, and you were comparing her to Highlander. And I just thought the comparison was pretty dead on. Now, if you're a fan of Highlander, whether the TV shows or the movies, you know that it's about an immortal, and the catchphrase is "there can be only one." And to me, that there is no other Pauline Langdon out there, and it's funny. If you ever see her, she's got the hair spiky, and it's she kind of compares herself to one of those trolls, and the comical ones, the cartoon ones, and it's pretty funny. But I think the biggest thing that we as marketers can do is bring our personality with us wherever we go. And so when you talk about Highlander, when you talk about other people, when you talk about white country and and you know that how you do things on social media, that's what brings that personality out there and gets you to kind of bond better with your tribe.
Yeah, it's there's actually a psychological term for it that is slipping my mind right now. But essentially, the idea is that people who are like you will like you.
Right.
Okay, so there's no reason for you to not be authentic when you're presenting yourself online. In fact,
Mhm.
not being yourself online is actually going to be a hindrance than it is going to be a benefit.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. The more of your real personality you can bring out, the better it is for you. And I make it a point to say real personality because there's a certain kind of personality that is almost like a caricature or like a mask that people put on,
Mhm.
where they act a certain way or they say certain things because everybody are in their market, in their industry, or everybody in their audience, acts that way and talks that way. So what people really want to know is like what is the real you? What
Right.
are your real opinions? Okay, are you just saying these things because it's convenient to say or popular to say or because it's fashionable to say? Or are you saying these things because you actually believe them? That's what
Mhm.
people want to know at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that was the whole basis of my Rob versus series. Is just I wanted to get my sarcastic approach to how I felt, how I dealt with things, and it was just it was supposed to be a one-off book. Rob versus the scammers. I just was going to take on the whole Visa, MasterCard calling industry, and the book took off, and people are like, I want more, Rob. Tell us more. Share your stories, and now I'm coming out with book 6 in a few months, and I have enough content for book 7, and people, I'm like, really? People just love this sarcasm, but that sarcasm has made me more money than all the other books combined. I mean, it's just um, but it's that personality. So, how do people find out more about you? Where do they go? How do they sign up for your stuff?
Yeah, so in keeping with the theme of this conversation of not relying on these third-party platforms, the best place for them to go would be to subscribe to my email list, and that is nabilaziz.com/links. And even if you're not interested in subscribing to my email list, there's a bunch of other resources available for you on that page, nabilaziz.com/links.
And those links will take you to
LINKS.
third-party platforms that you don't want them to go to.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually going on your site right now, and it's you can learn more about his workshop, and another course that you have is profitable AF emails. That just sounds so awesome. And then you got the drop kick copy from your agency, and and you do have social links, but yeah, it's find out more about Nabil, and sign up, and learn more about not only copywriting, but about content marketing. And I mean, sure, you can come to me, but you're going to get some sarcastic response that you may not like. Nabil's going to treat you better, and yeah, and he'll even do it with a smile. So I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Adios.